Fitz, creator of the Daily Freedom Path, coach, speaker. Google me, Dan Fitz. I'll get into that a bit later in this video. I'm going to try not to tell you things, what to believe, what to think. Thanks for the love, mate. Appreciate that. I'm going to tell you not what to believe. I'm not going to tell you information. I'm not going to tell you why you're wrong, because there's a good chance nothing will change that. Just chilling out, making my peace with God, or gods, or whatever you choose to believe in. Because there's been an attack on my people. I don't mean white people, but those two. I don't mean Victorians, but I mean those two. I don't mean Christians, Orthodox Christians, but I mean those two. There's been an attack on my people. There's been an attack on you. But like it says in the Bible, you have eyes to see, but you cannot see what is happening. You have ears to hear, but you cannot hear what I'm saying. Something like that. I think I butchered that quote, but I mean, the teaching is pretty solid. Winston, if you want to have a crack doing it better than me, feel free. Some terrible shit has happened in my life to the point where I wanted to murder a particular man. Not only did I want to murder him, I wanted him to suffer. And I don't tell many people that part of my life, but that's why I am a little bit rough around the edges. Big L. Butcher nothing. No comment. If you ever watch one of my videos and you kind of get to this point and you think, oh, I don't want to fucking listen to him today, please just hear me out. This may save at least one life. Quite literally. I'm not talking about improving your life and losing some weight and you save your life. I'm talking about saving your life. Because I'm simply just going to share with you my own experiences. So March last year, I had my last speaking tour in Australia. And I was actually wearing a mask. Yes, I'm ashamed to admit that. I was wearing a mask. I mean, didn't you know there's a pandemic on? So I flew from Thailand to Australia to work. And when I got here, immigration was kind of freaking out, not because I was going through the border. In fact, they were kind of distracted by that. They were freaking out because there was this virus, this deadly virus called influenza type A and B that kills 300,000 people a year. And as I walked around Australia, as I spoke to people, they kind of knew. I mean, they saw the people dropping dead in China, although no one's actually seen that in any other country. They saw the fear in the other countries, although I'm in one of those countries and not much is happening. Last year anyway. And I knew I had to leave Australia. I knew a totalitarian state was just like the Democrats of America. Never waste an emergency because you can take power of the people. You can control people with fear. That's a fucking unusually loud bike. So I came back to Thailand, and I was thinking about my speaking tour in America. I was thinking about my speaking tour in Australia. I speak for a living, believe it or not. I don't just talk to you guys for fun. I speak for a living. At least I used to. I knew the borders were going to close. I knew this was going to be bad. I didn't know it was going to be as bad as it was. And I didn't know why it was going to be as bad as it was. And me simply just relaying my experiences to you So hopefully you wake the fuck up. Because I don't know if you saw my video yesterday, there's two sides to every story. And this particular subject has consumed, overwhelmed, contributed to the division of family, friends, maybe even your own belief about what's going on or what you should do with your life. My cousin shares my last name. Took the jab to keep his job. Now, please don't judge him, because he lives in Victoria, he lives in Melbourne, and we suffered 2 years of brutality. We suffered 2 years of something like 600 days of lockdown. And I myself experienced a minor lockdown of 14 days, and that really rocked me, so I cannot imagine what the people of Victoria have been through. Isn't it funny how you guys thought it was a big joke up in Sydney, up in New South Wales? Those Victorians really can't handle this. Those Victorians are really fucking things up. It's by design. They didn't fuck anything up. They executed their plan perfectly. Why do you think the two worst affected states in Australia? One is being investigated by IBAC, and the second Premier of New South Wales is now being charged with corruption by ICAC. Must be a coincidence or a conspiracy even. But like I said, I'm not here to share with you information. I'm here to share with you stories about my last year, and it's very difficult for me, so please just bear with me. So March last year I fly back to Thailand, and Stephen owns my apartment, so I have to come back and check on him. And I get a text from my dad. Grandpa's dead. It's pretty direct like that. Grandpa's dead. In a text. And it explains a lot, doesn't it? And I thought, that's not good. I just got back to the country. I mean, at any given time in history, it's kind of an inconvenience to get into a country only to come back. But, I mean, funerals, people you love. I said, what do you want me to do? I jump back on a plane. But by that stage, the propaganda, the restrictions had already kicked in, had already been accepted. No, don't come back, mate, like you might kill grandma, or don't come back, you have to do 2 weeks quarantine, so you missed the funeral anyway. They didn't even have a funeral. You're not allowed to have funerals with more than 5 people or something, but yet we have stadiums that are full of people. Forgive me, I'm going into personal opinion again. But I missed my grandpa's funeral. And I also know my grandmother has been alone through 600 days of lockdown after my grandpa dying, and I can't imagine how difficult that is for her. And you really see the real side of people when adversity hits. There's a number of people in Melbourne I asked to go visit her, just check in on her. I'll pay you. But because we had such strict rules and laws and all this bullshit, people were afraid to drive down the street. People were afraid to be seen 5 kilometers further than their house. And people couldn't even simply check on my grandma for me. I mean, they said they would, but they never did. And that really changed my perspective on friends, people, and people's word. Although it really wasn't that great to begin with. And I appreciate the guys who are watching this live taking the time to sit down and listen to this with me. I appreciate that. It's very difficult missing my grandpa's funeral. It's very difficult. I watched Scott Morrison, our Prime Minister, just after I got back. He said he's shutting the country down. He's closing the borders. And as I said on a post the other day, prove to me that COVID's not influenza, I'll shave my beard off, I'll do it on a live. Or shave my ball sack, or someone want me to do that, you sick fuck. I guess when you do shave that area as a man, it makes it appear bigger. Kind of like shaving away the truth. It makes the problem seem much worse than it is. So Scott Morrison shut down the economy. This may have affected you financially. This may have affected you mentally. You may not have seen family and friends in your own country for months. Now I'm in the darkness business. I'm in the helping men out of the darkness business. And the amount of calls and applications I had for the DFP was overwhelming. Not only was I already struggling from my grandpa dying, going through a pandemic, dealing with fucking morons, like not wanting to shake hands or not wanting to do things so they think they're going to die. Anyone in the fitness industry will know how hard this is. Anyone in the fitness industry will know how much of an overreach the government has had during this period. So I used a direct debit service for my clients where it was almost like a gym membership, where their fees for my coaching would come out of their account weekly. Now all of a sudden I received an email from this company saying, we've put in your clients' payments on hold. The government has told us we're not allowed to run payments for gyms and fitness businesses because they're closed, forcibly closed. So all of a sudden my pay stopped. All of a sudden my personal information, my personal business, my personal life had been influenced at the click of a button. Now me being me, I don't back down and I don't take no for an answer, so I just stopped using that company. Because that's what you can do in a free market, in a free world. If a product or a service or even a country isn't serving you or treating you well, you can leave or do something else or use something else. But this has been a huge problem that's made things worse. Instead of saying, oh, the grocery store makes me put on a mask, so I'm not going to go there because I'm not a fucking loser who's forced to do things. You think, oh well, just a mask. I want to go to the grocery store. Because what I found is, going back to people being full of shit, I've been coaching guys through this whole period, how to stand up, how to fight back. One of the guys watching this followed my legal advice and he actually got a letter from the Prime Minister, or the President for understanding's sake. And it was basically a generic letter saying, appreciate you reaching out, saying that you want your rights back and you don't want to take this medical experiment. But they're safe and effective, cheerio. I mean, something like that. Basically disregarded what he had said. So I thought, that's good. They're shutting down our businesses. They're restricting our breathing. They're ignoring our requests. We're missing funerals, weddings, just seeing people in general. We're in this together though, mind you. Despite what you may think of me, I do like to help people. I come from nothing. I come from a very rough neighborhood. I come from a very rough family. So I know how to do it pretty tough. Pain is all I know. Most of my friends and my mother is dead, so I'm quite familiar with death. And what's coming from many of you is going to be incredibly difficult. And despite how you've treated me and despite what you think of me when this does happen to you, because it will, I'm here to talk, I'm here to support you, And I suggest you eventually come over to the other side when you're ready. Because I'm in a place where people didn't have a choice. People didn't have the right to say no. You guys do, or did. I mean, you're coerced, which is illegal. You're coerced. You can't go to the grocery store. You can't go to work. Quit. Get a new job. Find a new grocery store. I've been going to stores that will allow me to go in without a mask. And I've coerced a few people myself. I remember walking into a store and they said, "Where's your mask?" And I tapped my Visa card on the counter and I said, "Do you want this? You want this?" "Yes." "Well, I'm coming in like this then, baby." It's not hard. I mean, just like you, most people do anything for money, especially now. I used to have about 5,000 friends on this particular profile. I think I have about under 3,000 last time I checked. I didn't delete a single person over the last year or so. I couldn't give a fuck what you think, and I got better things to do than delete people. If someone doesn't like me personally, I just find it amusing that they stay friends with me. But I thought, I like to think I'm a good person. Bit rough around the edges, bit offensive, but I like to help people best I can. When you challenge a belief system, when you challenge someone's ideas, if they truly believe it, if it truly becomes their identity, identities being masker, anti-masker, I trust the science, this is you. I trust the science. I believe the experts. Don't you know there's a pandemic on? That's fine, I get it. Believe what you want. I mean, honestly, first 2 weeks in Asia and seeing the people dropping dead in China and that kind of shit, I thought, yeah, maybe there's something going around, like the flu. But just like you, I was more scared of getting in trouble than the flu. And I actually have my ex to thank for this. Tough bitch. We were about to jump on my motorbike and she said, "I'm not wearing a mask, Dan." She's Russian. "I'm not wearing a mask." I'm like, "Babe, like, we'll get a fine. We'll get in a lot of trouble. It's not our country." "No, I'm not wearing it." I'm like, "I have to pay the fine." But she was hot and I agreed with her. Fuck it, I'm not wearing it. And after about 2 to 3 weeks of wearing a mask and taking it off, no one told me to take it off, no one asked me to take it off. Here's a question for you. When's the government going to tell you to take off your mask? I mean, their solution doesn't work. Their third, fourth, fifth solution doesn't work. Lockdowns don't work. Masks have been proven not to work. I mean, even in Australia, they said you have to wear a mask. And they said they don't work. So don't wear them. And they said wear them again. And you put them on. Once you put on that mask, you never take it off. So here I was in a country where I don't have rights. There's serious penalties, not just, or I might get a fine, that I could go to court in a country where I have rights and defend it. There's none of that. And we would ride around maskless. We would ride around free, and it was great. And I thank her for giving me that courage. I hope I give you that same courage. To take the fucking mask off. To go back to work. Because poverty kills. Not having food kills. And I'm getting into what else kills also. Because you need to know this. This isn't from a friend of a friend. This isn't something I saw on a conspiracy site. This is my own experience. Not that any other information would change your mind otherwise because you've been brainwashed by propaganda, just like any communist takeover in history. But I mean, like I said, that won't register with you. So I'm riding around, maskless, free, and I ride into a roadblock, some cops. One grabs me, and he's not angry that I'm riding fast or with no helmet. He's angry that I'm not wearing a mask. He doesn't care that I might have drugs on me. He doesn't care that usual developing world kind of cop shit. He's furious that I don't have a mask on. He grabs me. I say, hey, did you know there's a pandemic on? Why are you social distancing? It's dangerous. And his mind didn't know how to comprehend what was happening because he wasn't social distancing. And the very thing that he was mad about, he was breaking the rules, the law, or whatever you want to call it. And something in his mind clicked. And his colleagues laughed at him and like, well, he's right. Now let me go. No, fine. Didn't make me put on a mask. Let me go. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do that, but I'm also saying if you don't do that, this is how you'll live for the rest of your life. Me and the guys from the DFP, although it was a financially tough year for everyone in 2020, we raised enough money to feed 3,000 people. We raised enough money to feed 3,000 people. Not because we had to, not because I want you to vote for me in the next election, not because I want you to like me, because I know what it's like to not eat. These people have no government support, these people have no help, these people have no other options. And I pray and I hope that you never go through what's happened here, but unfortunately you will, in ways you can't even imagine, like I've been talking about, inflation and social credit system. You're about to experience a world of pain you've never experienced. But I mean, you're going to find that out the hard way anyway. It's not what I came here to tell you. Because as long as you're alive, as long as you have your family, the people around you that you love, life is still pretty good. I mean, I've been to prison. I grew up in Frankston, so most of my friends are in there. And even in that place was kind of fun, because my friends were there. My best friend that I grew up with. If you've ever been to prison, or if you've ever received a criminal conviction, it's almost impossible to integrate back into the normal world. They won't give you a job at Woolworths. You can't do certain things. It's very difficult. So instead of going back to crime and unable to integrate back into society, he shot himself. And the amount of suicides, the amount of stories, the amount of people I've heard in my country, and especially in my hometown, that have killed themselves because of this, it truly breaks my heart, but it also doesn't surprise me. Because just like my friends, they couldn't work. They couldn't make a living. They were outcast by society for no real reason. And feeling like a failure as a man, especially with a family, especially with these unrealistic standards on Western men these days, killing yourself probably seems like a good option. I've worked with a number of men that have tried it and fortunately didn't work out for them. I brought them back from that place. But where we're going right now, there's no coming back from, at least for a little while. And your Craig Kellys and your Donald Trumps, they're all a bunch of pedos, they're all a bunch of Freemasons, they're not here to help you. They're here to entertain the belief that someone will help you while they push through all this shit, while they destroy the economy, while they destroy your life. You are here to save you. We are here to save each other. But we need to be able to unite and stop arguing about stupid shit to be able to do that. Which leads me to my final point. If you made it this far, congratulations, you've actually still got an attention span. I have a friend on Facebook. I met her through, I guess, my business associates. And for lack of better words, she's fucking cooked. I mean that in the nicest way possible, but she's fucking cooked. You think I post a lot about this shit? She's on the opposite side of the fence, and every single day she'll create an argument about why people should take the jab, and why it's safe, and why we should trust the experts. But when I say, prove me wrong, I'll pay you $10,000. When I say what I believe, when I share facts, her and her friends refuse to see it. Like I said, ears to hear, eyes to see. They don't want to see it. And here's the most difficult thing that you need to do right now, because this is the very thing that's going to save your soul, your inner peace, and maybe even your life. Because it's very serious that you pay attention for preparing what's coming, and also being there for other people that are going to experience what I have. Scotch and Coke. Just kidding. It's triple espresso. You judgy pricks! People underestimate how hard my life has been. People underestimate how hard the last 2 years of my life has been. Now, I'm not looking for sympathy, I'm not looking for pity, I'm simply trying to prevent you from allowing your country to end up in the same place. This country is not a free country, it's a great country, but it's not a free one. New Zealand, Canada, America, Australia, and the UK, you're all building back better. You're all going through the same shit, despite what the media will tell you. There's freedom protests all over these countries. There's restrictions and deaths and financial ruin in these countries. There's arrests of pastors, priests, who simply refused to bow down and wanted to preach to their people the same way that I'm doing to you now. Because that's what gives people hope. People don't go to church just to donate money. People don't go to church just to feel good. People do it to connect to something higher. God, universe, nature. I mean, you have to believe in one of those things. I mean, is there a tree here? Yes or no? And that's what they don't want you to do. Why do you think they shut down gyms and churches, but brothels are open? That's been the law in my country. The gyms are shut, the churches are shut, but the brothels have been open the whole time. If you're a little bit innocent, a brothel is where you pay money to go fuck someone. Now, they had COVID rules in place for these brothels, and instead of having an hour with a woman, or a man, whatever you're into, you only get 30 minutes for safety, science, and that thing. Now, if these little telltale signs of what's going on about how we're being manipulated, played, and led into slavery, tyranny, and a system that we won't be able to get out of, nothing will. I was living in a place through 2020, and I kept to myself, spent time with my cats, trained Muay Thai, and I had a lady that would clean my house. That was her job. And we used to talk and we got along and we built a relationship, and she said to me, Dan, what do you do? I said, I'm a speaker, I speak, help people with my words. And she's like, I thought you were just crazy. I always heard you yelling in your place, but I never knew why. I am crazy, but yeah, that's what I do. She lost her job. Like billions of people all over the world, she lost her job. No welfare, nothing. So any spare money or leftover cash I had, because she had 2 girls, I would send to her. And this medical procedure that you're being coerced to take, you're being forced to take, that you may be unsure, definitely sure you don't want it, or it's only a matter of time till you give in because you want to go to your job, or whatever. I was sitting at home one day and I got a text. Now, I spent Christmas with this lady. We would have coffee together. I would buy things for her kids. I loved her. It's probably the last mother figure or anything close to that I'll have in my life. And then I got a text that she died. Now, she wasn't an unhealthy person, she was very healthy. And she didn't actually die of the flu. They said she died of a rare brain condition about a week or 2 after she took that medical procedure. 2 weeks, dead. Now, you can't ask questions here, and there's no investigations here. That kind of does sound like Australia now I think about it. But she's dead. No insurance, no help for her children, or for her life. Dead. Because she was forced to take something that she didn't want to take. Now she's dead. This isn't a friend of a friend. This isn't a story I read on a conspiracy site. I could share thousands of first-hand stories, but it really doesn't have that same effect when it's not me. Everyone I know here that's taken it, they either can't play their sport properly, they don't feel right, they have headaches. You may have noticed the viral videos getting around where people are sticking spoons and shit like that to themselves. That happens. But people are afraid here. They don't want me to film it. They don't want me to post it on the internet. Because they have nothing left to lose. They don't want to lose their freedom. Or they don't want to be harassed by police and officials. I couldn't give a fuck. Scott Morrison, Dan Andrews are guilty of treason. One of the penalties of treason by law is death. And that's what they deserve. I've missed my grandpa's funeral. A lady that I love is dead. My business has been turned upside down. My life has been turned upside down. So forgive me when I say I want them dead. I want the government out. And the only people capable of doing it is us. But I don't want to talk too much about the government. I don't want to talk too much about violence or anything like that. If these people who are organizing these riots and these protests and these political parties aren't suggesting violence, they're full of shit and they're fucking liars, and they're just getting you to wait until you're out of options. Fuck that. I know Ricardo Bossi of Australia First, or Australia One. He's suggesting violence. Because any other time in history where a government has pushed the boundaries like this, They're hung up in the street. Look at Mussolini. And you might say, oh, violence is bad. You're a bad man, Dan. Look at what they've done to our country. Look at the hate that they've created in our country. And if the medical procedure rollout has reached the numbers that it's reached here, I dare say you probably lost someone too. And you've woken up to that fact. And I'm sorry if you have. We're going to need each other more than ever coming into the future. I mean, I get it. Some people have been real dicks. Some people don't really deserve love, respect, and support when they wake up to this reality. But that's what the government wants. And that's what evil, the devil, that's what these people want. Fuck that. I'll support people, I'll help people, I'll guide people best I can. But if you think for a fucking second you can take people that I love, you can take money from me, you can take my freedom, you can take my life, you better get a fucking life insurance policy, I tell you that right now. Although you can't in Australia, every single insurance company, life insurance, has cancelled their life insurance policy. Every single one. Look for yourself. And that should make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It's not easy making these videos. I could lose my freedom. I could lose my income, although I've kind of already lost both. I could lose social media accounts. I've lost dozens. But I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of losing a Facebook account. I'm not afraid of losing money in exchange of losing my future and my freedom. I'm not afraid of judgment. I mean, look at me. My fucking life's great. I love who I am. I help people. I am who I want to be. And I don't say that to brag to you. I say that to you because that's the truth. I don't fucking listen to people unless they have what I want. And most of you are so fucking brainwashed and deluded and full of hate. I don't want that. But if I don't give courage to the men who are afraid to speak or afraid to act, they're just buying time. Here's the thing, you can't buy time anymore. Unless you've got a couple of shotguns, $1 million in the bank, you don't have too much time on your hands. And I know these protests, they feel like they'll do something, they won't. These people don't care. They want you to die. Have you not seen what's happened in Victoria when we protest? We protested for over 12 months, and all we got was pepper sprayed and beaten and ridiculed. And then when we separated and went back to our individual homes, we were picked apart by the police, the Gestapo. This same thing will happen in your state, in your country, Canada, New Zealand, America, UK. It's already happening. So people tell me. I've had doctors, nurses reach out to me because I say what I think and believe. And they think, how do you know this shit? How did you piece this all together? Because you're right. I said, I know. He said, why aren't you saying it? They lose their license to practice. They lose their job if they say something. And here's the most facetious, malicious thing about this. There are nurses and doctors that are in on this. And as forgiving and as loving as I am these days, I have no forgiveness or love for you. And you deserve to hang with the rest of the politicians. And you should be ashamed of yourself. Why is it that no one really dies in their house of influenza, aka COVID? They die in hospitals on the ventilators. Look into it. You'll see the answer. Why is it that some nurses are pushing fear, some doctors are still pushing fear, and the vaccine is the only way? And yet half, or if not most, of the medical profession that hasn't been silenced or shut down is saying the complete opposite. Don't take it, you'll die, this is medical tyranny. They're covering it up because they get paid more. If someone dies and they say it's COVID, they get paid more. If your doctor gives you the COVID shot instead of the flu vaccine, or I've heard about people going in and saying, I have diarrhea. Well, that's interesting. What you should do is been taking the AstraZeneca, because they get paid per shot. They get paid per death. And I know it's hard for you to wrap your head around that, but there are people in our world like this. There are people in our world that don't value life, at least not yours. They value money. The same way you're willing to risk your health, your freedom, just to keep a $700 a week paycheck. Imagine what people are willing to do for thousands of dollars. My understanding, it's $40,000 per patient to say they died of COVID. A lady that I know just down the road, she owns a restaurant. Her partner died, just like my grandpa, because he was old. People die all the time. He wasn't sick, didn't even have the flu, he just died because he was old. He's probably tired of people's bullshit, no I am. And the officials came around and the hospitals came around and they took the body away. And then when she went to sign the paperwork, she saw that they had written he had died of COVID, because they get money. And she said, no, that's not right. He died because he was old. But they refused to change it. And like I said, you don't have too many rights here, so all she could do was cry. So I'm not going to let her husband's death go to waste. I'm not going to let my auntie's death go to waste. I'm not going to let my opportunity to speak and tell you the truth to go to waste. I don't care if I get shut down. I don't care if I can't make money. I mean, I can't anyway now. Facebook has banned me from advertising. YouTube has shut down an 8-year account. I've lost 10 Instagram accounts. I've been fighting these people for a long time. This is why you can Google me. Because this is how they beat you. If they make you look like a bad person in the media, if they make you look like you don't know what you're talking about, they discredit you, you won't listen to what I'm saying. This is why I had to tell you about the Major Organized Crime Squad. This is why I had to tell you such deep and personal truths. Not because I wanted to brag about it, or not because I want to keep bringing it up, but I need you to understand the doctors, the real experts, the police that come out in your favor, in your defense, they're railroaded by the media. They're outcast from society. And they don't give a fuck about you. I nearly lost my job, my business, my freedom, my sanity, because I was in government prisons trying to help them at a financial loss to me. But they shut me down because I was getting too much influence, I was getting too many people listening, and I knew too much. There's a lot I don't tell you, because I need it. It's an ace up my sleeve that keeps me safe, for now. So I'll leave that with you. This is the real deal, my guys. This is mass genocide. This is going to be seen in the history books as worse than anything that you've read about. And you just don't see it because they're not polite enough to tell you that we're at war The virus is you. The virus that they want to kill is you. Until you step outside the system, until you step outside the narrative, until you have the courage to have powerful conversations with people, you're going to experience death and loss on a scale that I can barely deal with, so I don't know how you're going to deal with it. Because this is just the truth. I mean, if you've taken one shot, if you're strong, you'll live. If you've taken two, you're as good as dead. It's a matter of time. And the third, the fourth, all those, maybe you last 2 weeks, like my auntie did. What's that worth to you? Because when what's in these comes out, and it will, these motherfuckers will be hanging from the streetlights. I mean, they deserve much worse, but I mean, just as long as they're out of power, a life for a life. I mean, Dan Andrews himself has committed mass genocide on my people. Whether you want to understand or believe that or not, I mean, I can't get the figures of the suicide total in Victoria right now, but it was something like 20 to 60 people commit suicide in New South Wales a year. It was 600 last year. 10 times the amount. 600 people died. Suicide. This is just in New South Wales, mind you. That in itself, the suicides just in New South Wales alone that weren't marked as COVID, it's already more than the fake death total. And again, if that doesn't make you wake up or scare the fuck out of you, I don't know what will. I understand these people have guns, these people have the law. I saw in the Daily Mail people having their house, car, driver's license confiscated because they got COVID fines that they didn't pay. Fight it. You need to fight this with everything you got. Otherwise you'll lose everyone and everything you love, maybe even including yourself. And you look back on this moment and think, fuck, why didn't I do something? So leave that with you. If you watch this all the way through, appreciate your time. If you feel like there's someone that needs to hear or see this information, you can share this with them. Privately, if you're afraid to share that controversial guy on Facebook videos. I've heard that you can't share my stuff. I've heard that you can't post in some of my platforms. I mean, welcome to my world. I'm censored like a motherfucker. But why would they censor it if it was so dangerous? It's the truth. God bless, Godspeed. I know things are hard right now. I know things are scary. I get that. Don't leave this legacy for your kids. Don't allow these people to make you live in fear. And just like my Russian girlfriend last year, fuck them, I'm not wearing it. She convinced me to stop wearing it. I mean, I went on 8 airplanes last year. I was in 6 different countries last year. I would sit on the airplane and I would order coffees because you don't have to wear a mask when you get a coffee. And she hated that. And every time she went to take my coffee, I'm like, no, bring me back another one and I'll give you my cup. Because the virus knows when I'm drinking coffee. Bullshit. How many coffees you gonna order? As many as I need. So I don't have to wear a fucking mask like a loser. That's how many. And get me a coffee. Black. No sugar. That's all it takes. Just gotta stand up for yourself. The moment you put that mask on, the moment you take that first shot, the moment you start scanning QR codes, you're done. You'll never stop. So while we have the opportunity to not start and turn this around, I suggest we take it. Because even outside of this shit, we still have China who's gearing up for war. We still have an economic crisis because we shut down the country. We have inflation that's going to make us suffer for the next 10 years. There's so many other things that are much more serious than the flu. But they don't want you to see that. And they don't want you to know that you have power. You do. You have more power than you can ever imagine. I'm just some guy from the hood with a big mouth. I'm handsome. Ride a bike pretty good. Don't even know how to ride. I don't have a license. Learned on Grand Theft Auto. Thanks for the love, mate. Got any questions? I mean, I get back to you. I get a lot of messages. So if I don't get back to you, I mean, I'm not being rude. I don't have time. And I don't like to talk on Facebook. You can find me on VK. You can find me on BitChute. You can find me on Rumble. You can find me on Gab. More importantly, check out my website, danfitz.com/forbidden knowledge, danfitz.com/TFNNOz. Everything you need to know about what I just said, everything you need to know in regards to taking legal action to defend your rights where you have them, it's all there. It's been there for months. Use it while you can, otherwise the alternative's going to be fighting, bullets, war amongst ourselves. And that won't be pretty for anyone. I mean, they know this, and they have this planned. And they know that Australians didn't hand in all their guns. Why do you think they're doing a gun amnesty all of a sudden? 40 or 30 years after they took our guns. Because they fucking know. That they're still out there. That's the only reason they're not kicking in your door and forcibly vaccinating you or dragging you off to camps, because they fucking know that. And they should be scared. And if you are from the AFP, if you are from one of these agencies watching this, fuck you. We'll get you eventually. Anyway, enjoy your Sunday. Don't hate on people who don't understand this or attack you. I mean, I know it's hard. I'm a bit of a hypocrite sometimes. But like the Bible teaches us, like Jesus taught me, I mean, motherfucker's getting crucified. And he looks up to God and says, they don't know what they're doing. Like, I get it, it's not good, but like, they don't know what they're doing. Just forgive them. Imagine having nails hammered through your fucking wrists. And being like, they don't realize how angry and hateful they are. Imagine having that level of understanding and forgiveness. And you might say, well, if someone was doing that to me, I'd fight back. He found himself in that position because his friends and his people bailed on him. Don't bail on the people that need you right now. Because you're going to need them eventually. I tell you fucking right now, the government, the police, they ain't going to be there for you. God bless. I'm Dan Fitz.